I think that there's a massive appetite now for art. I've had lots of inquiries from people about art. They seem desperate. They seem desperate for when is an exhibition, when can we come and physically see work. Now, I've never had so much of a response, you know. People seem so, I think they realize now how important art is, you know, how important culture is being locked away. I think art is going to hit people in a really big way when they come back. So I'm James Earley. I'm a full-time artist. I paint in a realism style, and I paint portraits of people who basically live on the edge. You know, I use my paintings to raise awareness of things like homelessness, war, poverty, anxiety, all the trauma in the world today. Well, I tried everything else really, and everything else completely bored me. Whereas, I don't know if you've ever done a portrait, but when you paint someone's eyes, it's like a hook, you know, it pulls you in. And once you're pulled in, it's very difficult to paint anything else because anything else doesn't have that emotion, you know? So that's why I paint portraits. And I've tried still life, I've tried landscapes, but I would get bored, and it takes me so long to create a painting that I have to be emotionally involved in it. It can be really emotional, it can be quite traumatic. I did a series of paintings about victims of the Iraq War, and I got to know the subjects and their history, their story. And that was really emotional. That was very difficult to paint because you were painting people that were no longer alive and they were children. So that was very difficult. I was also asked to paint one of the victims of the Manchester bombing, which was, again, I just can't explain the trauma those people had to go through. And I'm doing a series of portraits in the US about people who have been on death row and who have subsequently been found innocent. And they've been through a huge amount of trauma themselves to be on death row, an average of 15 years for a crime they didn't commit. So I'm doing 7 portraits of those guys. So that's going to be really emotional. And that's something that I don't know how I'm going to deal with at the moment. What I will do is I will chat with them. They're all now, because they've been found innocent, luckily, they're all now in their homes. And so I'm going to meet them in an environment which is quite neutral, quite friendly. And I'll chat with them over a period of a week. I'm doing, I think, 1 a day for 7 days. And I won't really ask them what they want in the portrait, but from the chats that I have with them, I'll pick up important things that mean a lot to them. So one of them may mention his childhood, one of them may mention what kept him going in prison. Another one could mention his family, his mother. So I'll just pick out all of those things and then add them into the portrait, the background of the portrait. So that's really how that works. So yeah, that's why I have to get to know the subject. I have to do that before I paint a portrait. I can't paint a portrait from someone I don't know. You know, the emotion's not there. It's flat if I do that. The Death Row Project it's part of a charity that I work with called the Innocence Project, which you can follow them online, and they're a really good charity. And so they've helped organize me meeting with these guys. So I know their story, I know the history of what happened to them, how they were convicted, how they were found innocent. So yeah, I'll be in the room with them. I'll do lots of sketching. And that will help me massively. I'll take some photos. And then I'll go back to the studio, lock myself away for 6 months or so with lots of wine and loud music, and then I'm in heaven. We lived in France for a long period of time, and we got back from France 2 years ago. So now we live in a place called White Parish, which is near Salisbury. So we've been here for about for about 2 years now. I miss France a lot. I love France. I lived in the south of France near a place called Surrey, where Picasso and Matisse and all of these people were painting. You know, it's an incredible place. The colours are amazing. You know, with lockdown, it's not really affected me in any way because I live really in the studio. You know, I'm quite happy just painting all day long. Obviously, I think I had about 9 exhibitions last year, all cancelled. So that was a bit of a bummer, but you know, it could be a lot worse, I guess, couldn't it? That hopefully will go ahead in July. I think that's the Ruth Beauchard Award for South Portraits. So hopefully that's going to go ahead in July of this year. Should have a solo exhibition going ahead in November, which was in for last year. And I've got an exhibition in Berlin, which is great. I've never been in Berlin before. That's been cancelled 3 times now, but they're pretty sure it's going to go ahead in, I think, October. So that's going to be great. So looking forward to that. And of course, Roy's Fair, which I've never done before. I've heard so many good things about it that I can't wait to do it. Looking forward to it. And I love talking about art. You know, I love talking about my work. I prefer to be in a studio, but I do love talking about it. It's great. It's cool. I'm a big fan of John Edward Malaise. Do you know Malaise, of the Pre-Raphaelites? Yeah, so again, it's realism with emotion, with a story behind it. You know, I'm a big fan of Salvador Dali. Again, where I used to live in the south of France, it was very close to the border of Spain. So we'd often pop over to the museum, Dali Museum in Figueras, and his house where he used to live. So I'm a big fan of him. Music-wise, a big fan of The Clash, Joe Strummer, who's a real inspiration to me. Bands like bands like The Jam. So yeah, I'm big into music. And again, people who've got like a bit of an edge to them, you know, a voice, a bit of aggression, a bit of anger, you know, and that's what I want to show in my art, really. I want it to shout, I want it to hit people on the head. As I said, when you paint someone's eyes, you don't think of anything else, you know, and to me, you know, I my mind, I guess, like a lot of people, it's like a stormy sea, you know, it's like the crashing waves, it's constant fear, worry, anxiety. But when I paint someone's eyes, the sea is calm, you know, it's great. And I can just chill out and forget everything else. And yeah, so that's it's hypnotic, you know. Favorite piece. I've just done, I'm doing a painting at the moment, which I really love doing, which is about Haiti, which you can just see behind me. So it's just drying at the moment. So that's about the story of Haiti, about what's going on at the moment. It's a very, very poor country. It's the first country that really got out of slavery. It was a slave country, and they had a revolution back in the early 19th century, and they beat the French and formed their own country. But ever since then, they've been exploited by Western countries, and there's a lot of corruption there now. It's a lot of poverty, and I think they've had enough now. So they're on the streets protesting. And a friend of mine who's a photographer, a guy called Omar, he has been over there and he's taken lots of photos. And the boy behind me is a boy I've never met, but I know his story. And I wanted to paint him with a backdrop of the history of what's gone on over there. So that's really emotional for me. I love that. I don't create specifically for a show. I just create what I feel is important at the time. So I'm doing a painting at the moment about the situation in Yemen. Okay, it's been on the news a lot recently. Again, I know people that are over there. I've been speaking to them, so I'm painting a picture of the Yemen now. That that may not be a great painting to sell at an art fair, if you see what I mean. I've had lots of galleries in the past who have told me what to paint, and they've said, look, if you paint this or you paint that, it will probably sell, but I can never do that. So I have to paint directly from my heart, if you see what I mean. So no, I'm not doing a series specifically for that. I'm just doing a series of work which really follows my heart and that will sum me up when I'm at the fair. It tends to be my newest stuff, which is great. I tend not to show old stuff. So yeah, I'm excited about it because it's going to be emotional. It's going to hit people, in my opinion. Well, I've done the other art fair quite a few times, and a lot of the artists there speak highly of Royce. So there's a number of people I speak to there, which is good because the other art fair is really well done. You know, it's good, and for the artists that are used to that sort of standard, a high standard of how it's run, and they tend to say, well, this fair's not very good or that fair's not very good, but they always speak highly of Roy's. So that's the reason why. Yeah, and also I've heard from lots of people that have been to Roy's, it's a very honest show. If you see, it's not pretentious, which is great. So I think it will be really emotional, as you say, all the way around, because of the honesty, because of the rawness of Roy's, because it's pure art. It's not diluted. So I think that will be a perfect entry for the world, really, to come out and visit Roy's. It's going to be great.